Good morning.
Good morning. Hello all, welcome to the Open Texas Conference. Welcome to this session, One Engineering Professor's Evolution into an OER Advocate. My name is Sam Wehunt, the session moderator. I am a reference librarian at the University of Houston downtown. Our speaker today is Dr. Bonnie Boardman. Bonnie Boardman is an assistant professor of instruction and undergraduate program director in the Industrial Manufacturing and Systems Engineering Department at the University of Texas at Arlington. Her primary research interest is in engineering education. She holds a BS and a PhD in industrial engineering from the University of Arkansas and an MS in industrial engineering from Texas A&M University. Dr. Boardman worked for the Logistics Support Agency, an agency of the Department of the Army, as a senior engineer. Research interests areas include the development of scheduling algorithms and decision support systems, and adapting and applying industrial engineering methodologies and techniques to the service industry. Dr. Boardman, are you ready to begin?
I'm ready. Good morning, everyone. So thank you for being here today. I am going to share my journey to OER advocacy. I know if you're here at this conference in this presentation, you're also an OER advocate. So my job here today is not to convince you that OER is a good idea. I know that would be preaching to the choir. My job here today is to again, tell you my story about how I got here and so that you can maybe help other people follow my journey. So that's what we're going to do here today. I'm happy to take questions at any time. So feel free to interrupt or we can take them at the end as well. Whatever you want is fine. So this is a picture of Robert Baden-Powell. He is credited with being the founder of Scouting. And one of the things that the quote from him is, leave things better than you found them. And this is something that my mom and dad were both educators. And my mom, I was a scout growing up for way longer than it was cool to be a scout. And my mom was a leader, a scout leader. And you can see in that picture there, she's instructing my dad on something. She's always still instructing us all on something. And this leave things better than you found them was one of the things that she also liked to say a lot to us. So here's a picture of my scouting days. This is me up here in my chubby face in the red handkerchief. So we were always taught in scouting, and my mom always told us, you know, leave things to me then, leave things better than you found them meant, you know, pick up after yourself, and not just yourself, but pick up after others as well. A camping spot should always look natural, look better, more natural and better when you leave it than when you got there. Those kind of things is what it meant to me. Here's one last family picture. I promise this is the last one. This is my brother and I, and you can see here in the corner our garbage bag after we had been out picking up garbage one day, because we like to do that. Our parents like to have us do that a lot. You can see I'm thrilled by it. So that's what leave things better than you found it meant to me then. Really what it means to me now is OER. I think OER is a leave things better than you found it idea. And that's the way I think of it. So this is my timeline. And I would say this is takeaway number one of my presentation today, that, you know, it's a short timeline. In 2017, I would have had to look up what OER stood for. I had no idea, never heard of it. It was a brand new idea to me. So I want you to know that it can be a short timeline. You know, usually, at least I think in education, things take forever to make changes. It seems like it's usually a really long process, but I think this can be a relatively short process for people, as it was for me. So I'm not going to go through all of this. I'll be talking about it today, but for me, it was a relatively short timeline. So where I started was, I have taught for a very long time an introduction to industrial engineering class. I never used a text for the class, not because, you know, for any highbrow, high-minded reasons, just because there was never a text that was matched the things that I wanted to cover in the class. So I guess that is one thing that might maybe where I started out ahead of the curve a little bit. I never decided on class topics based upon the table of contents of a textbook. I always decided, here's what I want my students to get to know from this class. And I think that's a good place to start with people. We have recently undergone a program review of the content and our classes for our BSIE program. And where we started with that content review was just that. What do we want students to be able to do or to know coming out of this program? And we started with that, and we spent about a year making that list and asking, our constituents, asking alumni, asking people that hire our students, what is it important for them to know or do? And what we found when we came up with that list is it didn't match table of contents from textbooks. And that was, and still is, hard for a lot of people to accept. But I started there, so I guess I was ahead there. So I would assign to my students reading from various sources, and then I would give exam questions over the readings. And every semester I keep a little piece of paper at the end of the semester that I fill out, kind of a little reflection of here's what went well this semester, here's what didn't go well this semester, here's what I want to change for next semester. And always on that list, those readings and the exam questions covering the readings were what I considered the least successful part of my class. So I was always looking for ways to improve that. And this is some of the steps I went through with efforts to improve. First, I was at a conference. It was first year engineering education conference. So we were talking about introduction classes, and I was, lamenting my problem with, there's no text and this is the least successful part of my class. And somebody said to me, well, have you seen the stuff that Dr. Jane Fraser has put together? And I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And they introduced me to a website that a faculty member in industrial engineering had put up. She was apparently having the same problems I was, but she had kind of created her own resource. And she put it up on a web page, and it was really just a wall of text. It was not very visually interesting, but it was really good information. And it covered a lot of the same things that I was trying to cover in my class. So I switched from various sources that I was assigning to assigning this web page and different readings from the web page. But I was still doing exam questions to cover those readings. So it was better because the information was better and it was written for the audience that I needed to assign it to, but it still wasn't completely successful. I still needed to improve it some. So my next iteration was I heard about a commercial product called Top Hat. And I learned there that you could input content and include some interactive questions and activities that would be automatically graded. And I thought, oh, that would give me an opportunity to do two things. It would let me make this content a little more visually interesting and format it a little better. But it would also allow me to do some timely assessment instead of waiting and trying to have them answer exam questions weeks or months after they had done the reading. So I thought that would be good. Again, at this point, I had no idea what OER was. I sent, even though Dr. Fraser had a license printed at the top and the bottom of her web page, I contacted her and said, here's what I'd like to do. I would like to use your information. I want to change it up and add this and add that. And is that okay? And she wrote back, yes, of course that's okay. But I had no idea. So I did that. And we used that for a few semesters, and it did improve the students' interaction with the material. But I still had some doubts about it. One was it did cost the students $25 a semester to access the Top Hat product. I had some privacy concerns about that, just not for any reason that I thought there was something to worry about. It's just that I didn't know, and that bothered me a little bit. And I think probably from a selfish perspective, the worst thing for me was that it was a real hassle to get students to sign up for this service, and they had another password, and so we had our learning management system, and then we had this whole other system, and some days they were using one in class and sometimes they were using the other, and it was just real inconvenient. So with these doubts in my mind, the next thing that happened was I was just walking across campus when we got to walk across campus, and I saw, one of those flyers that are everywhere, but it was for a workshop about something called Pressbooks, which I had never heard about before. And I don't know why, but for some reason the flyer caught my eye, and I read it, and it seemed to do that, or that maybe it could do all the things that the commercial product was doing for me, but maybe I could make it happen and it wouldn't cost the students anything, and it could allay some of those other doubts that I had. So I went to the presentation, the little workshop, and I learned about Pressbooks, and I learned about H5P, and I learned for the first time OER as an acronym and what that meant. I learned that my institution had what they called a CARES grant to help faculty to produce OER. And it kind of took off really quickly from there. So that's my takeaway number 2, is if you are one of those people that is giving, putting up those flyers and giving those workshops I want you to know that it makes a difference. It made a difference to me that I saw that flyer and I was able to go to that workshop. And I know that sometimes those can be frustrating or disappointing kind of things to have to do because maybe nobody shows up or not very many people show up and they don't ask any questions. And I get that can happen, but I want you to know that it just takes one person to see that flyer and to go, and it can totally change everything for that one person, because it did for me. Kind of along that same line, I want to give a shout out, I guess, to UTA's OER team. They were so supportive and helpful. They helped me with importing material. They designed the book cover. They helped me with accessibility checks and improving the accessibility of my product, my text, which again was something I knew absolutely nothing about. So this was a huge support for me, and I learned a lot. And probably more importantly, they were just a constant source of reassurance to me, and an fount of knowledge and answers to my questions. So takeaway number 3 is, I know that there's another session going on right now that is about how to create these teams to help across a campus or an institution, or maybe even bigger than an institution. And so I want to just step up and say they helped me immensely. And they are also the people that put up the flyer and gave the Pressbooks workshop. And if it weren't for them, I still wouldn't know what OER meant. So I appreciate them. And if you're unsure if your campus library has these people, take a look for them, because they're very helpful. And if you can support them, support them. And if you can support your institution in creating one of these OER teams, please do, because they were a huge help to me. So this is my text that I was published just in 2020. And it has H5P questions in it, so that's been very helpful. But going forward, I want to talk just a little bit about kind of what my future is, if that's been my past, and where I'm going with leaving it better than I found it. I was such a fan of this process and such a fan of the outcome of it, and got so interested in others of our classes that we could move to OER, that I talked to my faculty about it and maybe coerced some people, advocated, that's a better word, right? I advocated, and our faculty have agreed to work toward a Z degree for our BSIE program. So a Z degree is a zero cost resource degree. So our goal would be that none of our undergraduate classes would have any resource cost to students. So that doesn't necessarily meet the definition of open. It doesn't necessarily mean they all have to be open, but they would not cost the students anything. So our faculty have agreed to that. We have made it a strategic goal for our department. And we are currently working on our freshman and sophomore classes as a first step of getting this done. Obviously, this is a huge undertaking, because it's not just about, we can control what happens in our classes. We can't control what happens in math or in English or other classes that are part of our degree program. But again, we have these folks who are helping all over campus. So it's not just about us. They're helping all over campus to open other people's eyes, like my eyes were opened. And we're hopeful that someday we can get there. One other thing that I'm doing, and I want to encourage people to do, is for us to think about, so in doing all of this and in me starting to think about what's available in content areas for industrial engineering in OER versus what we would need to develop from scratch, and doing a lot of searching. I spent last summer taking our degree program and doing a whole lot of OER searching to see where I could find materials that would match up. And there wasn't as much as I hoped there would be. So this is where I started thinking about professional society. So in engineering, every engineering discipline has a very active professional society that is made up of people from academia as well as from industry. We pay memberships to be part of these societies, and each society, mine particular is the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineering. And that society has discipline specific divisions where people join these divisions because they're really interested in ergonomics, for example, or they're really interested in operations research. And they get together and they talk about these things, and we have conferences where we go and we, or someday we'll go again and sit at round tables and, eat chicken and hear from each other. And my society has something that is called the Body of Knowledge, which is a relatively new undertaking for the society, but they've tried to start documenting what is it that industrial engineers do, and what is our body of knowledge as a society. And again, this is a relatively new endeavor. When I first heard about it and I went on the website to look and see what they had, I was disappointed to see what they had. Was the first iteration was literally copies of textbook table of contents. And that bothered me from the beginning because I thought, these textbooks shouldn't be leading. And I know there's a, but then it kind of turned into not a copy, but they have put in some extra information. Here's what still bothers me about our body of knowledge is that it is not only behind a paywall. You don't have to, you have to be a member of the society to be able to click on the link, but also, I, as a member of the society, can't edit it. I get to see a PDF of it. And I think that's just a totally wrong approach for a professional society to take. And so I am giving a presentation at our annual conference in May, where I'm going to stand up and say that. And I'm going to say, you guys are, you're where I was way back in 2017, where maybe you don't know about OER, but I really think this is, should be a mantle that professional societies raise and say, what if the IISE professional society would put together and maybe have an IISE open press and say, we're going to provide this to all of the people that are trying to educate future industrial engineers. And that's just going to make more industrial engineers. And then they'll join our society and the world will be a better place. That's my hope. So that's where I'm going forward. I really want to try to make that happen, or try to make more people aware, not at conferences like this, because I know you're already aware, but at conferences like our IISE conference, where maybe there are people that aren't, but that certainly have the other half of the thing. They have the knowledge that we're trying to make open. Lastly, I just want to thank all of you for leaving things better than you found them. I know that there are a lot of people out there doing a lot of things, and they don't even know all of the people that they touch and affect and help. And I have been one of the people that has benefited from all of that help and all of the things that you all have been doing a lot longer than I even knew what was going on out there. So I want to say thank you for that. And please continue, even when maybe it seems like nobody's listening. There are people listening, and it does make a difference. So thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. And I will quit sharing this so I can see chat in case you want to use that.
It looks like there is a question in the chat. Was the course offered online or in a face-to-face setting?
So both. So when I was first writing this or putting the OER together, we were face-to-face. So I did kind of, my classes used it before it was actually published, and just to kind of beta test it for me and help me find errors and things, typos, which they did. So face-to-face, and then now these last 2.5 semesters, we've been using it online. So both.
Another question, is it possible to share the list of OER resources available for engineering?
Yeah, I'm sure if you have one of those teams at your institution, they can help you find that. I'm happy to share if my email, I think you have somewhere, or I can share it. It's boardman@uta.edu. I'm happy to share what I have at any time, or any of the searches that I have done. I'm happy to share that. Lab activities, some of them I was able to kind of change to an online format. So for instance, I used to have a thing where I had them gather data by doing a little experiment in class and then analyze that data. I found a way for them to online gather data, and then the analyzing could be done, online. So some of it I was able to manage online. Other of it I've just had to scratch because I haven't had to figure out, or I haven't been able to figure out how to do it. I don't know about all faculty. I can probably say no, not all faculty will be involved, but we do have a very supportive group that is interested, and I think will become more interested when they learn how easy it is to do, or might be to do. We have just put this on our strategic goal just in the fall. It was added to our strategic goals upcoming. So we are at the very beginning stages. I couldn't even tell you a timeline. Right now, our goal is our freshman and sophomore classes, and to, move as we can. Well, thank you all. I think I'm out of time, and I don't want to make you late to the next one, but I want to thank everybody for being here. And again, thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you all for coming.
And I'm going to go listen to some people now. I've got my part done.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end it.